Hello, I'm Lynette, and today we're diving into the depths of layered abstract art, adding some collage, different layers, and you can think about it how our lives are built from layers of our experiences. Some are visible, some are hidden, but all contribute to who we are. So we're going to start with some simple layers and then build something which are more meaningful and complex. And through this, we're going to discover how each layer adds its own unique voice to our story, because really it's all about us on the paper or on the canvas of what we're doing, and it's our voice that's going on there, and that's where the magic happens. So come and join me. So here I am with some board book pages, and I've already covered them with the first layer of papers like these that I've already created before. I didn't want to show the actual board book, so I quickly just put layers of paper on, not really thinking about how I was going to do it. And now I'm just going to pick 3 of them to work on. Easy decision, just pick them, decision made, let's start. And the book pages that I've put on, they already start the first layer of a story because there's a story on those pages. And then I come along and add marks and paint and washes, and that adds yet another story on top with experiments and gestures. And those stories were from a few days ago when I made the papers. And so it's a different mood, starting again, now adding and putting more layers on of paint, and then more book pages or more collage on top of these. And those first layers are just really my initial foundation. It's a little like the past when you think about it. It's tangible, it already happened, you know it happened. Could be a little chaotic in the past, but it's essential. That was our past. That's the start of the story. And here we go now. And we all have these layers underneath, the ones we don't always show, but that quietly hold everything else that we've become today. So we need those layers from the past. And the layers can come in different forms. Painted, making different marks on the pages. One thing I love about collage is that it is not about doing things the right way. It's about responding honestly to what is in front of me. And it's just from within my soul, it's within my heart, how I feel at the moment, and just working with these. I'm always spinning them around, wanting to add a little bit more to the story. These collage, it so reminds me of people, because we're all made of layers. We all have different elements of it. We don't always show ourselves, our true selves. Sometimes we're messy. We don't want to show that. We want to think that we're nice and organized. I would love to think that I'm nice and organized, but then my art table just goes into chaos afterwards. But needless to say, all of those layers belong to who we are. So today I'm going to move through these pieces, and I decided to use blues and black and white and see what I can come up with. And I invite you to think about, what are your favorite colors and what do you like to work with? What do you like to think about? What are you thinking even when you're doing your collage art and your abstract art while you're making it? There's a song from the late 60s. It's called Love is Blue. and there's a lyric in it, and it says, "Blue, blue, my world is blue." And I always think of this when I start paintings that are predominantly blue. You'll have to look up the song and see. It had a French version as well. So for me, blue is a color that holds a lot of emotion. It has good memories for me. It reminds me of good things. It's calm. It can be rich. It can be a deep exhale after a really long day. It has so many moods. And I think I've said this before. I've not met a blue that I have not liked. So with this collage, it's just working back and forth. It's adding white, adding marks, covering them up. And as I'm doing it, I'm looking at what the shapes are on there. Does it need something else? Does it have too much of something? Like maybe that white is just too much white. And then when if I'm going to make these a series, I think, okay, I'll put the same paper on the others. It may not show up the same. It may not show up at all. But again, it's part of the story. It's part of that history. And when I'm thinking about these, I like the contrast between the hard edges versus the soft edges of the brush and those flowing movements. And usually I step back and look at them and go, really? Does this work for me? And then I want to add some darkness. Could be black, just could be dark, navy. Adds a little bit of drama to it, but in the best way, because it creates that contrast. And it allows, if I have a little bit of dark, like on that one side there, and then if I put dark on the other side, the eye is going to start to move around that little painting, which is a good thing, instead of the eye getting stuck in one place. Still working on things. That's the beauty about collage, isn't it? That unlike paint, you can move things around and you can try things and you can work within the composition. And it's actually a really good way for you to practice your composition because you can think about things without adding the paint on. And then there are times when I actually go ahead and I glue them down. Still looking at how I'm going to do this. When I'm using darker colors like the black or a dark blue, you cannot create powerful work without some sort of contrast. And it doesn't have to be black. It doesn't have to be dark. But it really brings a little bit more drama in if it's a little bit darker. At least that's how I work with it. I do like more contrast in mine. And then I look and I see, is there a little bit of tension happening in it? And tension, I'm thinking in the way of something that doesn't belong there specifically. Like this with that black, there's that big white on the right-hand side. And when I add the black, that creates that tension and that contrast between the white and the dark. so that tension adds interest to the paintings. Let's get rid of that little excess paper off the back. And I may go and still paint the back side. Depends how I feel about it. So I like that part of it with just the little strip of white and then the dark. And then I just want to carry that darkness through. And it doesn't even have to be black. I feel like when I do these collages, I go back and forth. I go from light, and then I go to dark, and then I seem to add more light again. It's the way I start to build up layers and the richness of it and the story that's happening. And now I want to add more white because it was becoming too dark. And I love adding white because it's like a breath between your thoughts of when you're looking at it. And white, to me, it doesn't mean emptiness or without color. It means possibility. And how I put on those marks and what it can add to the collage. It can be a quiet pause between the louder stories. And it's where your eyes and your mind can rest and then go visit other parts of the painting and see how it looks. Because we need a little bit of roaming around the painting and then we need some rest. It's like when we need a nap at times. Your art needs a nap. And as I'm building this, I'm not really thinking about making something pretty or something about that I'll like or the finished product yet. I'm still just reacting to what's happening. And I added the thin lines because I like the contrast of the wide marks and the thin marks. To me, contrast is just so much about the differences between things, the pattern versus not pattern, wide marks versus thin. And see, here's a good example. I do not always make great lines, and so then I have to go and I'm going to make this white line a little bit thicker because I didn't like the angle that I did on that white line. So I'm just going back in slowly and putting in. Well, it's not slow because it's sped up a little bit, but it was slow when I put it on. And I think about listening to the paintings. What's it trying to say? And I ask, what do you need next? And usually it comes to what type of contrast do I need? And it's just a conversation back and forth. You can think of it as a conversation that people have with one another. And it's not a lecture. So this is happening and both sides are working. The painting and you're having this conversation with it and what's happening. And that's how I love to approach the creativity. It's not with judgment or with pressure, but more with curiosity. And asking, what if I do this? What do you need next? What if I put this at an angle here? Does it add to it? What happens to the other shapes? When I put something on the top, what happens to the other shapes that are below? Does it create shapes that are similar? And in that case, I may or may not want that. But it's always looking at what's already there and what I'm putting on top and how it changes. And with this, again, I like the linear edge of the painting or of the paper. Against the more organic paintbrushes. Because this whole process, when we crave this creativity in us, yes, we want to have a piece that we like at the end, but more important, it's what we're creating as we go along. And we're problem solving. And it helps us in problem solving in life too, because we're asking these questions and we're being aware of things. So that really is important. And I want to remind you also that if you're looking at yours and you're going, oh, mine doesn't look like that, that's actually a really good thing, because it shouldn't look like mine. Certainly it can have similar elements that you get from ideas from other artists, but your work really does look like you. It's your textures, your rhythms, your thought process, your decisions that you've made, your life into this point. Putting on, taking off. Now I'm starting to think, okay, these are coming maybe to an end, or at least a place where I can stop and look at it differently. And usually when I think they're finished, I see what they look like in different places. I put them on, say, leaning up against a wall so I can walk away and see them from a distance. I see them in different lights. I put them in different areas, and so I can see them maybe just out of the corner of my eye and see what the composition looks like. Because now this is also part where the painting starts to whisper back and say, oh, I need a little bit here, or nope, that's enough there. Knowing when to stop is always difficult. Sometimes you just know if you keep on going, you just may ruin the magic that you've already made. And if I start feeling that, one, I take a photograph just so that I can remember if I did mess it up. I can remember what it looked like. Or else I try and take the paint back off of it. And that doesn't always work. And remember not to rush creativity. It's not a race. It's a relationship that you have with yourself and your creativity and what you're making. And let's put a few extra marks on here. Might be hard to see the blue on blue. I really like that middle one. And again, turning. What does it look like? And let's try it on a clean piece of paper. so I don't have the distractions of the marks in behind. And I'm liking these. Love the blues. Love the different shades within it. And here's finished pieces. Added a touch more detail and then put them in frames. What a difference it makes when you put it in frames. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. Comment below and subscribe to see more. And also sign up for my newsletter for extra information. The link is below. See you next time.